Interesting question, and something that I've been doing a lot of research on. I truly believe that Donald Trump is really the decision maker whether or not the U.S. engages in military efforts against Iran. And it's quite disconcerting in a way because in the past you would have a president who had his military advisors and they would have con plans and op plans and work with their stakeholders, key stakeholders in the region, and to see, President Trump, everybody waiting for President Trump's decision whether or not the U.S. is going to bomb Fordham, help the Israelis, is kind of disconcerting in a way. But I think it all rests upon what Donald Trump wants to do. Yeah, it's hard to determine. If we look at previous decisions and previous statements from him, he wants to avoid war, he wants to avoid conflict, but yet he's pulled into it. And then with his negotiation strategies, I truly believe that the U.S. has an opportunity to really shift the dynamics in the region and bring an enduring peace. And I believe that Donald Trump is looking at that and weighing the options and trying to understand the best way forward for American involvement. I understand there's concerns with proxy forces and strikes on the U.S. troops and personnel in the region, but as we learn more and we see more in how this is playing out, I think that he will make a decision, a prudent decision that's in the best interest of the U.S. and U.S. Foreign policy vis-a-vis the Middle East. Whether or not the U.S. joins, I think there's an opportunity for the U.S. to get involved, particularly with the strikes with the uranium enrichment facilities. But I don't see a large scale deployment of troops or involvement in any way. I do. I believe that Iran has an opportunity to end the war simply by giving up their nuclear production capability. Whether or not they decide to do that is really on the supreme leader and the Iranian government. I believe that 2 weeks time, if the Israelis continue to strike within Iran and in the military capabilities, that they'll be degraded to the point where they really don't have a good alternative. This could be an opportunity for the leadership in Iran to end the war quickly and keep themselves in power. If it prolongs, I believe that they will jeopardize their own ability to stay within power in Iran. Yeah, there's no vision to readdress the territorial boundaries within the Middle East. This is solely focused on one specific issue, which is to prevent Iran from having a nuclear capability. There's nothing in the con plans or op plans that would redesign the Middle East, redistribute areas, and any speculation of that is in my opinion, absurd. There's no way that within the current international community that would ever happen. I was an intelligence officer for almost 19 years, and I had been a Middle East analyst for the longest time. And throughout my career, I would listen to, and I had threat intelligence assessments that Iran was going to close the Straits of Hormuz, and it never happened. This is rhetoric that they continue to use to bolster their standing. Their military capabilities have been depleted to the point where they don't have the operational capability to close the straits or do the things that they have threatened to do in the past. The one key component that we are overlooking, and a lot of people are overlooking, is the Iranian population, and looking at the green evolution and understanding at what point is it a tipping point for them, and that they actually start to revolt against the regime, the leadership in Iran. And that's a critical factor. And as the time goes on in this 2 weeks, we really have to pay attention to the Iranian population and how they are being impacted by this. Well, the two parts to the question. The first part I would answer by saying the proxy forces or these stakeholders that are aligned with Iran are not going to join the fight against Israel. They're not going to launch attacks in Iraq. I think it's been very clear that the Iraqi government and their relationship with Iran and even the proxy forces have more to lose by entering the war or joining with Iran than they do to gain. A lot of these groups are trying to and benefit a lot from the illicit oil trade and from other factors. And for them, there's no good reason to support Iran. So that's the first part of the question. Whether the U.S. retaliates on these attacks, I'm pretty sure that they have in the past through drone strikes and through limited engagements. But we're not going to see a large scale deployment of troops. We're not going to see any large escalation on behalf of the U.S. I mean, these are going to be limited strikes by UAVs and special operation forces. Aside from that, that's probably all we'll see as a response by the U.S.